Today's episode of Inbound and Down is brought to you by HubSearch. If you don't know the name HubSearch, you need to. Founded by a former HubSpot recruiting manager, they're a recruiting team 100% devoted to the HubSpot ecosystem. If you need to hire and grow your team, call HubSearch today. HubSpot customers and agency partners ask for rock stars, and they deliver. Learn more at hubsearch.com/podcast.
This is Brian Halligan, and you're listening to Inbound and Down from Maury Creative Studios.
Welcome to Inbound and Down, the art and science of inbound marketing, with John Sasala, president of Maury Creative Studios. Hey, it's Sage here. I'm excited to bring you another episode from our HubSpot miniseries, this time featuring Nancy Riley, the VP and General Manager of the Ecosystem Product Group, and Andy Pitre, VP of Product Customer Data. It will come as no surprise that the Maury Creative team are HubSpot nerds. And honestly, I don't think anyone gets nerdier than John. That's a compliment, I promise. Him and our CEO and co-founder, Jed Maury, got to ask Andy and Nancy all their burning product questions. The excitement is palpable. This episode includes a great story and analogy about how HubSpot has evolved from just a software to a huge platform over time, discussions on where HubSpot leads in the market, and yes, what everyone is waiting for, some talk about future features that Andy and Nancy are excited for. When we're in the weeds every day, it can be easy to take the software for granted. But stepping back and taking a look at how robust and powerful the product is through the team's eyes really brings some perspective. Thank you to Andy and Nancy for their participation. Without further ado, here's John with the episode.
All right, joining us today, we have Nancy Riley and Andy Pitre. Thank you for joining us. Can you guys tell me a little bit about you, what your roles are, and what you do here at HubSpot?
Sure. I'm Nancy Riley. I am the GM of our Ecosystem Product Group and VP of Product. And I've been here at HubSpot about 3 years. And in that time, our focus on APIs, integrations, the ecosystem has grown from like half a product manager and 2 engineers when I first started to an entire product group now. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I handle all of our APIs, integrations, developer experience, all that kind of fun stuff.
And how many integration partners do you have right now?
We are over 400.
400. Wow. Wild. And Andy, tell me about yourself.
So my name's Andy Pitre. I'm one of the VPs of product here at HubSpot, and I basically own all of the core internal platformy stuff that works across the hubs.
Okay. I've heard it referred to as the CRM. Now, this is new to me in that I've never, like when I speak publicly about this, I've always lumped the Sales Hub and the CRM together. Yeah. Just the way that I've always thought about it. But the CRM really is kind of independent of the Sales Hub. Mm-hmm. Sales Hub is like paid functionality regarding like sales processes, whereas the CRM, these are records, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The CRM is like the database, right? Mm-hmm. It's like your system of record for your contacts, your leads, your customers. And the CRM really, like when we think about HubSpot, the CRM works across all the different hubs, right? If you're using Marketing Hub, you still have the CRM, mm-hmm. and that's where you're storing your leads. If you're using Sales Hub, all the sales tools work directly on top of the CRM. And if you have Service Hub, you're still using the CRM as a way of tracking all your customers, like inside of HubSpot.
Got it. Great. And when we look at these different integration partners, the app partners that we have out there, when they're connecting to our systems through those APIs, it's really feeding the CRM often. Like a lot of what they do when you're bringing over data over there, it needs to make sure that it's connecting with a lot of what you get to do. Exactly.
We want to have that single source of truth in the middle. Mm-hmm. So whether the integration is pulling data out to act on it or pushing data in, so we have that complete picture of the customer, of the deal, of whatever they're working on. Either way, it's bringing that single source of truth together for the customer to use.
So let's explore the 400 partners that you have out there. We've also got here on the microphone, I did bring Jed in because I thought that Jed would really enjoy this conversation.
This is where we're going to geek out. Yeah. This is the one.
Yep. Yeah. When Jed and I would originally go out there and present the value of HubSpot, we would speak to people as this is an all-in-one marketing solution. You know, if you have to really empower your marketing platform and bring everything together in one place, that's what HubSpot's for. It's so much more than that now, right? With the introduction of this growing marketplace, you've become a platform. It is now not just software. You are, Jed, you had mentioned the iPhone analogy.
Yes, we're calling it Andy's iPhone analogy for the record.
Full credit on the record.
Something that when I first met Andy, I think it was a partner day, and I sat in on a pretty cool. Well, Gabriel was in that.
Gabriel?
Yes, Video Gabriel. There's a couple other partners. So it was a good little wild raucous meeting. But Andy, you gave us an analogy about the iPhone and equated that to the platform that I've used in almost every new prospect meeting since then.
So I'm waiting for my commission check.
None of them closed. What? So if you could actually use that as an analogy, or whoever wants to take the question there, describing it as a platform. When we think of HubSpot as disparate tools that you can leverage to grow your business, and now we have to think of it as a platform, which we do. Tell us the difference, how it evolved, and if you can touch on that analogy, that would be amazing.
Yeah, that is a great analogy. I think we call it the all-on-one instead of the all-in-one. This is bringing it all together. Mm-hmm. And I think what we've seen, and we lean on data from our friends at Blissfully a lot to show this, is that even a small to medium-sized business is using 50, 75, 100 different SaaS applications. And they're doing it for a good reason. They want to try the latest thing in a certain area that's really important to them. Or there's something for their particular type of business or industry that has to be, it's kind of the state of the art that they really want to use, but they want to bring it all together. And so thinking about it as that iPhone, like they're doing their day-to-day business, it's the thing that's always with them, but they're also using various apps that they may try them and decide they don't like them, or they may try them and it may become part of their everyday life that they can't imagine life without it. So it lets them kind of try things that HubSpot builds, try things that other vendors out there are building, and work that into their core business process. That's all based on this CRM that's bringing that information together so that their interaction with a customer is all tracked in one place.
Mm-hmm. Before these, this entire marketplace of people that can connect to you through the open API, before that was a thing, we used to look at HubSpot and say, it's beautiful because they look at small to medium-sized businesses and they say, what are the things, the challenges they have? And HubSpot would try to resolve it themselves. Okay, so we have this great marketing platform. We kind of want to really roll out a great CRM. We want to roll out great sales tools. So that instead of you having to pay for Salesforce, well, let's just kind of build that here. Same thing with Service Hub. Oh, all these businesses, they're paying for Zendesk. Well, what if we could bring it all onto one platform so that you had a consistent view for humans across the entire buying process? At what point do you say, all right, let's stop trying to build everything into HubSpot and let's just open up the doors and let's let everyone connect with us instead of us trying to replicate what they do? Like, where do you make that decision of, you know what? Let's just let Zapier help our things work better instead of us building a Zapier internally.
Yeah, it can be hard. And I think probably where it started was where we were building to other people's platforms. So like social, ads, inboxes, things where there is an established market leader. Mm-hmm. People want to advertise on Facebook. They want to advertise on Google. They want to post on Twitter. And they have their email inboxes. We're not going to build an email inbox, but it's crucial to your sales process to have that information connected back to your CRM so you know that person opened your email, or you're reminded to do a follow-up, or you can do an automated sequence or things like that. Mm. So going in the other direction and building into other people's platforms, and then looking at other tools that people were using or niches that we weren't currently able to fill. Mm. I think we refer to it sometimes as white space, like the areas around the HubSpot product that can be filled in. And there's some stuff that's adjacent that like probably at some point it makes natural sense for us to build into that space. But we've had partners that have gotten there first and have made a lot of progress, either by offering more of a kind of fully featured or deeper solution. Like we may end up offering kind of the 80-20 solution over time, but they're still going to build something much more complex and fully featured that certain customers will want, but not everybody. Mm. Or there may be things that are sort of brand new and emerging that we may not be investing in yet, but other partners may innovate and sort of develop a market, and kind of we see what hits and what misses. And then there's kind of platform to platform kinds of stuff. So are we going to build accounting packages? Probably not, but people's accounting stuff and their CRM stuff like kind of needs to talk to each other. Mm-hmm. So should we connect there? Where they're collaborating, they're spending their days in Slack. Well, we want to send certain things over there or bring certain things back so that they can do their work where they want to do their work, but have it connect back to that system of record. Mm-hmm. So there are certainly times where it becomes contentious, where it's like, build versus buy. And, I'm like, hey, there's partners in the ecosystem that already do that. We should just, go deeper with them. And the hub teams or, the product teams are like, but we could build it better. We want to solve all the problems. So it's not black and white. It's never perfectly clear which way you should go. But I think from my side, open platform is key. So even if we do decide to build it, we're not closing the door to those other app partners to continue to build and continue to innovate. And, some customers can choose then what they want to use that's best suited to their specific need. But we're going to open up those APIs and allow for that creativity.
So I remember using the iPhone analogy again. I remember reading somewhere, and the internet can fact check me on this, that Steve Jobs was actually against adding the App Store to the iPhone in the original version of the iPhone. The original version didn't have the App Store. He didn't want to do it. And the reason is because he wanted the quality to be like extremely high of like everything that was released on the phone. It was like, Apple is going to build everything that like lives on this phone. And he had to be convinced to actually like open up the iPhone to let other people build on top of it. And obviously like that was a huge piece of the success of the iPhone. And I think like HubSpot went through a very, very similar thing in our life cycle. There was definitely a time where it was like, we're going to build everything. We know what's right. We know like we want to be able to control the quality of everything. And you sort of reach a breaking point where it's like, we just can't build everything, right?
You can, but you're going to roll out one thing at a time.
Yeah.
As opposed to flipping it and saying, let's open it up and let everyone develop in their own time. And we just approve at this point.
Exactly. And when I think about the iPhone analogy, one of the things I think about is like, on the one extreme, if you bought an iPhone and it literally had nothing installed on it, and you had to start from scratch and install everything yourself, it would be very hard to use, right? And so it's like, some of these things seem like so obvious, but it's like, when you buy an iPhone, it has a phone app. There's other people that make phone apps, right? Yeah. But like, there's a phone app, there's a mail app, right? There's a calendar app, there's a notes app, right? And so those are like the basic things that you just kind of need to exist in order for it to be more than just like a nice, beautiful piece of glass, right? And so when we think about like, what are the core things that we're going to build? That's one of the things that we're thinking about, which is like, what are the things that are just like fundamentally like businesses need, if you think about HubSpot, like our goal is to help millions of organizations grow better. And so it's like, what are the things that just like fundamentally businesses need in order to help themselves grow, right? And so like, that's one factor that goes into like what we're going to build ourselves. And then what are the things that we really want to invest in being best in class in, right? And so it's like, if something meets both of those criteria, then it's probably something we're at least going to consider building, right? Like that kind of falls into that category. In other cases, there might be things that we think that 30% of our customer base is going to need to be successful, right? That's a great thing for a partner, for an app partner, for somebody to build and integrate with HubSpot. Or there might be something that we actually feel like a lot of businesses might need, like that every business might need to be successful. Like I think accounting software is something that like every business needs to be successful, but am I willing to make the investment to build a world-class accounting software? Probably not, right? And so we can look at other SaaS apps that do accounting and we can build partnerships with them and we can get them to build in the marketplace, or we can help them build in the marketplace. And that's kind of the way that we think about it.
Where would you both say that you are already best in class? Where are you the market leaders?
Oh, that's a good question. We need our fellow GMs in here.
I'll give my answer. I think, obviously, I have my own biases at HubSpot, but I think that we're world class in CRM, and that's not to say that there's not more that we need to work on there, and there's not more sophistication that we want to add. But for a small or medium sized business, like I think that we're world class in CRM. I think that we're world class in email. If you look at our email marketing functionality, I think it's world class. I would put it toe to toe with any other standalone email tool out there. I think our automation is world class. I would put that toe to toe with our like anything else there on the market. I would put a lot of our sales tools, like like our sequences tool, our calendar tool. Like I think those are world class tools that have like the feature depth that is the same as many of the point solutions, or even beyond some of the point solutions on the market. I think that our live chat and conversations tool is one of our newer tools. But again, I think for like a smaller mid-sized business, it has the functionality that you're going to see from a lot of like chat apps and a lot of bot building apps on the market. So I think like, and those are like, again, like this probably not surprising to you that that's the list of things. Like those are the things that are the core reasons that I think people buy into HubSpot, right? Is for the CRM, for the database, for the marketing automation tools, for the email tools, for the sales tools, for the chat tools. And I would be remiss not to say our CMS. I think our CMS is another tool that is like world class on the market in terms of like
getting better.
Yeah, exactly. In terms of other CMSs. So I think those, and again, it's like, it's probably not surprising to hear that those are my opinions, because like those are clearly the things that we're like investing in the product to make really, really good. And I'm definitely forgetting something, and some product manager is going to listen to this and reach out to me afterwards. So that's not the exclusive list, but those are like the first things that come to mind.
We could actually use some maybe more bragging on your side about the CMS if we could ask for, one thing, just because we know that discoverability is higher on HubSpot CMS. We love working in it. Our developers love it. It's gotten so much better and so much easier to use. Great flexibility, great customization. We could really use some research to back that up when we're presenting that, because building on anything other than the CMS is just we hate it. We won't do it anymore, thankfully.
Yeah.
But being able to have those side-by-side comparisons with some hard research would be amazing.
Yeah. And they did just release the new CMS certification. So developing on the CMS. So
One more before we go on.
Yeah,
that I think we should brag on is attribution reporting.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
So I think that's something that's come out, and it's getting better and better. We're doing more work to add more things from outside of HubSpot that you can attribute on. But that, I think, is an area that HubSpot can uniquely contribute because you're doing all of these marketing actions. You're bringing it all together in that system of record. And so to have that ability to end-to-end then say what paid off, like where did my ROI actually come from? It's been a huge area of an investment. And I think just even as we've just started to roll it out, getting so much response in the market.
Without tools like yours, it's such a hard thing for agencies or for businesses to report on. And all of the different elements that you guys just listed, this is something that Jed and I use when we're sitting in front of prospective leads trying to explain what HubSpot is. And we have a slide in our deck that's called The Way It Was. And The Way It Was shows all of the different elements. Where is your website built? Where is it hosted? Where is your database? And, your database might be in Excel documents on people's computers. And, where's your social media? Well, the secretary, she has the logins. I think, we fired her. Your email marketing, it's done in MailChimp or outside of there. These are all disparate platforms. What HubSpot solves for with those core competencies is bringing all of the table stakes, the fundamentals, the most important things that you need as a business into one place, under one roof. Okay, great. So we got the foundation there. Now let's open up. Okay, well, you guys don't need to go through the effort of building out, specific, maybe it is accounting, maybe it is, billing, maybe it is like e-commerce. You don't want to necessarily go through like, okay, we don't want to process transactions right now. So let's integrate. Let's connect with Stripe. Let's connect with somebody else. The way that we access those Connect partners at the app marketplace, it used to be a pretty cumbersome environment. We would be sitting in front of maybe a prospective lead and they would say, well, hey, we use this platform. Does HubSpot integrate with that? And I'd look it up real quick and I'd say, sure does. And then go ahead and connect the integration and learn that, okay, it doesn't do everything that we need it to. So we've always said we need more information about like what those connections are. Nancy, can you talk about the changes that have happened over there in the app marketplace and kind of what it looks like today?
Yeah, I'd love to. I'm so proud of that team. We rolled out the latest and greatest app marketplace at Inbound in 2019. And a ton of user research went into that. So we talked to a lot of customers, a lot of partners around how do you think about integrations? Like, what are you trying to discover? Do you kind of know what you want to connect when you get there and you just want to know, can I do this and what will it do? Or are you looking for fresh solutions for certain areas? And how can we best help you figure out what it is that's going to work for you? So previous to that, we had an externally facing directory. Then we had the in-app sort of connection page. They were in sync most of the time, but only because we like copied and pasted things around. And it didn't really tell you, do I, as a user, have permissions to install this thing? And does my portal actually have the permissions that it needs? Does it have the product that it needs to integrate? And so now it's all in one place, much more searchable, the listing pages, thanks to all of our app partners who contributed all that content. They really worked hard over the summer to get it ready for Inbound with videos and proof points and pricing packages to give users all the information that they need in order to pick the right thing, know what it's going to do, and then go through that install process. So we're looking forward with that same marketplace to expanding that to include other things that people interact with outside of HubSpot, as well as things like ratings and reviews to get more social proof, more information there to make informed choices. So when we think about the marketplace, we think about discoverability. Can you find what you need? Informed choice. Does it tell you everything you need to know to make the right choice? And then trust. Do you really trust that what you're seeing there is correct, that it's all the information that you need, and that it's agnostic? We're not pushing any given solution. We sort in order of the most install. So you can see what's out there. You can see what other people are picking. We're not trying to tip the scales in any particular direction.
Yeah, including the reviews and the feedback from actual users is so important because there can be a common, consistent problem that people find after trying to set up the integration that A, is going to inform how the product can be improved. And B, is going to let somebody know, like I said, when you're looking to learn about what integrations exist, you have to make a financial investment before you come across those issues. So getting feedback, reviews, even if it's reviews or ratings in different spaces, is going to be very valuable here.
Yeah, it's going to help us, it's going to help the app partners, and ultimately the goal is to help the customers.
Yeah.
So let's ask you something about the future. Andy said something before about, best in class for SMBs. And I think that HubSpot that's really where you've just dominated. You dominated that market. You created the market, actually. So 7,000 customers, mostly SMBs. But there's a sentiment that has kind of been themed out over the last couple of weeks in our conversations with our CC and our CAM, and it was borne out again in our conversations today, that HubSpot has begun to attack the tyranny of or. This idea that a platform like this is either easy to use or powerful. And I'm sorry, you can't have both. There's a sentiment that seems to be bubbling up, and I assume we're going to be hearing a lot more about this, that your team is rolling up its sleeves and about to take it to the Marketos and the Salesforces of the world. Are you ready to do battle in the enterprise space with like a tremendous amount of confidence? Can you talk to this?
I mean, I think in part it depends on the definition of enterprise, right? I mean, we just had a launch around Marketing Hub Enterprise.
Well, let's put some numbers to it then. Global financial company with 10 million contacts and sales user groups all over that have required different teams and permissions and insight, comes to HubSpot and says, we're just not happy. We're replatforming right now, and we're evaluating a few different systems. Are you rolling up your sleeves and going in and pitching with confidence? And why?
Yes, is the sort of short answer to that.
It would be the shortest of all answers. yes, of course.
So, I mean, when we look at our user base, we do tend to think about like SMBs. Even if you go back to our like mission statement, right? Our mission is to help like millions of organizations grow better, right? And that's literally what we want to do. We want to help millions of organizations grow better, and we want to reach millions of organizations like with our product. There's never going to be a time where that mission statement changes to we want to help Fortune 500 companies grow better, right? Because there's only 500 Fortune 500 companies. That's the way that the list works. But what we see is we see our own customers growing and being more successful with HubSpot, and with that growth comes need for more sophistication, right? And what's interesting is that one of the things I've noticed, and you even in the kind of way that you presented the question, it feels like you've noticed the same thing, which is oftentimes what we hear from those customers is not so much, oh, I need a new feature from your email tool, or I need a new feature from your automation tool or your sales tool. It's I need better user management. I need better permissions for my users. I need better audit logging to see what people are doing because I have these new regulations on my company because I've been so successful that I went public. And
next level requests,
exactly,
real sophisticated requests,
and things like that. That is definitely an area of focus for us, where we're really we are rolling up our sleeves and we're looking at that and we're saying this is something that we want to do. That's an area that we're diving into.
Yeah, I think it leads us to exploring things like a persona more on the opposite side of things. So the larger organizations or the more sophisticated business models, they have people thinking about the data model and thinking about internal business processes and thinking about kind of how it's all going to tie together. So in end of 2019, we acquired PySync, which is a bidirectional data sync company. And it's partly leading towards those types of use cases where you have these systems that you need to keep in sync, not just, throw something over the wall or triggers and actions, but clear bidirectional behind the scenes sync. And how can we serve that? So I think as we go forward, we'll be thinking more, not just about the marketer, the salesperson, the service rep, but also the folks that are tying it all together and thinking about big picture, what's the tech stack and how is it all going to work as a system?
So I feel like maybe 2 inbounds ago, we were introduced to a lot of AI talk. I think there was an acquisition in there as well.
Motion AI,
Mm-hmm.
is that what it was?
Mm-hmm. And it seemed that there was momentum behind this idea, and chatbots were taking over the world, and AI was going to touch every part of every platform and everything in your life. I don't feel like we've heard as much about it over the last year. Is there anything deliberate about that, or is there something where the momentum petered out with that, or is it just not ready for prime time?
As we've started, we made several acquisitions, and we built out a machine learning and an AI team here at HubSpot. And one of the things that we've learned is, again, coming from the conversations that we have with customers, in the AI space in general, there's a lot of sizzle. There's a lot of very sexy things to talk about, right? Where it's it's good, robots are going to be able to, do your sales for you and all those types of things. And people get very excited about that. In the industry in general, there's 2 things that we've noticed. One is that the companies who are like promising those types of things have yet to really like deliver well on them. And two, the problems that oftentimes like get talked about are actually not the problems that like real businesses are having. And so like the interesting thing for us, and like we can use like support as like a use case, like for example, is like, there is this interesting thing where it's like you're going to create a bot that's going to be able to handle support tickets better than a skilled human, right? Like when people are reaching out to you on your website. That might one day be true. And like, we like, that's something that we think about, and that's something that we work on. As of today, it's not true, right? Like humans are actually better at handling support questions than bots are. And like to this date, I know when I'm talking to a bot like on the internet, and there's like certain things that are really helpful, right? Where if that bot is going to ask me like the first few questions that a support rep is going to ask me, saves the support rep a lot of time. But chances are I'm probably still going to need to talk to that support person in order to really get my problem solved, especially if it's a complex problem. On the other side of that, there's actually a ton of things that, whether it's support or sales or customer service, or even marketers do that are very tedious, repetitive tasks that don't need very intelligent people to do them, right? And so if we even just think about our own internal support team spends a ton of time categorizing support tickets so that we can do better reporting on the types of issues that customers call in with. And that's like incredibly valuable to us as a company. To me personally, as a product manager, I like love looking at that data because it informs me of like, where should we be making investments in the product so that we can like help customers use the product better. When you talk to the average support rep at HubSpot, that is the part of their job that they hate the most, right? Because what they actually like doing is helping customers. What they don't like doing is like typing, call reasons like onto a screen. And so the really meaningful AI challenges that we see to tackle right now are those types of challenges where it's like, can we auto tag your support tickets for you and save your support team like hundreds of hours a month? Can we auto tag your sales call outcomes for you, right? Like based on the transcripts of your sales calls, and save your sales team. Well, it doesn't save your sales team time because they're not, your sales team won't give you that information even if you want it, even if you ask them to, but
that's so true.
But like, why should you have to fight your salesperson to do something that they don't want to do when that's not what they're good at? Well, you didn't hire that salesperson to do data entry. You hired that salesperson to sell your product. And like, that's what you should be having them focus on doing. And if HubSpot can help you do the work that your sales rep isn't going to do anyways, to give you the insights that you need for your business, like those are the types of challenges that we're really focused on trying to solve.
It reminds me of a very dear friend of mine used to work for a very famous CEO of a notable social network. How's that? And shortly before he was terminated, I think the CEO said something in the order of, you have a lot of solutions for problems I don't have.
Yeah.
And
that's a perfect way of thinking about it. Yeah.
So he took his solutions to other places where people actually had those problems, and he's a brilliant guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes you can overthink and overdevelop, and just because it's there doesn't mean it's necessary yet.
Yeah.
But you can certainly see where there's going to be a path and a vision for it. So if it's not AI at the moment, and some of that will, and development like that always comes in fits and starts anyway, right? I mean, things never go, it's never linear. It's never, a straight upward trajectory. What are the things that have you really jazzed for 2020? Because we're right here at the beginning of it now, where you look out and you say, man, I can't wait to talk about this at Inbound, or I can't wait until this is in our rearview mirror because people are going to be so happy about it. Like, where are you guys geeking out personally right now?
Ooh, this is the part where we try to figure out what we're allowed to say.
Yeah.
I mean, continuing on attribution reporting is a big one for me.
Yeah, totally.
And getting more of the app partner universe and external events and baking all that together.
I'll say one thing I'm really excited about is like just continuing on the path of integrations that we're on right now. I think it's awesome, by the way, at the beginning of this interview to hear you say over 400, because that's been like our goal for like such a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the things that's nice about it is like the more integrations we get, the easier it seems to be, the faster that number grows and the easier it is to grow that number. And so you start to see the like network effects kicking in of like people building on top of HubSpot, which then the more integrations we have, the more appealing it is for people to sign up for HubSpot, the more appealing it is for people to sign up for HubSpot, the more appealing it is for developers to build on top of HubSpot. And you have this like really nice virtuous cycle. And so I'm really excited to see that continue to play out. And Nancy and I talk a lot about like how do we open up like new parts of the product, and how do we open up new APIs, and how do we open up new integration points like inside of HubSpot that let people do new and interesting things with the integrations that they're building. So without getting into any of the specifics that maybe I'm not allowed to talk about, like that's something I'm definitely excited about. Another thing I'm excited about in general is, again, talking about those more sophisticated companies. And this is like something that in the past, it would have been funny to hear myself say this because I'm typically like not this type of person, but I'm actually really excited about some of the admin features that we're building into HubSpot because I clearly see now how important it is for businesses to have like better user management, better asset management, better permissioning, better team management, like things like foldering, and like things like that inside the product. It's like
you're getting older.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Right? You're maturing. Your tastes are changing.
It's not necessarily like the sexy features that are going to like you're gonna include in your pitch, but it's like those types of improvements that are going to really make a difference in making it easier for people to like set up and use HubSpot for more complex teams.
And he's going to pull up to the stage at Inbound in a minivan and say, "It's practical. It's practical."
I already have a minivan.
Oh, there you go.
It is very practical.
I like framing it as they're not the features you're going to use in a pitch. Like I would never go to a client and be like, and you can have people on multiple teams. I'm like, I don't care.
But it can be a deal breaker.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, when they're like 6 months into using HubSpot and they need people on multiple teams, we're all going to be grateful that feature exists, right?
Well,
So
I wish other people could see like what happens at Partner Day when they give us a preview of like the smallest new tool that's releasing inside the service desk, and then you hear
people
like,
just stand
I know.
Totally.
Like, you're doing it. Be like, I don't even know what that is, but okay,
I mean, and we focus a lot on the foundational features, like that whole expanding our ability to handle more complicated data models, to tie everything together, to automate on those things, to do the syncing and to do the kind of triggers and actions and like make that tech stack really work together. Like it's super exciting.
Well, I think, your team, the whole executive leadership team of HubSpot was pretty open. It wasn't 19, I think it was Inbound 2018. There was a lot of changes that came out, and it was big platform updates, and it felt massive. Yeah. And they were very open afterwards about saying, listen, we got it out of our system. Now we're just going to make everything awesome, but don't expect what you just saw. Like you're not going to see that again for a while. Now it's about the fundamentals, and it's about what you're really talking about, which is where it seems to firmly land in both of your camps, where it's great, but if it doesn't all work, and it doesn't work where there's no friction from the user's perspective, then it doesn't work at all, right? So it seems like you really are doing a lot of the heavy lifting, and your teams are making this thing great. And that's got to be exciting. That's got to be really fulfilling.
It's fun. It's fun because like our customers are trying to create exceptional experiences for their customers, right? And my favorite little tagline that we have, it's a little too long for a tattoo, but I like it enough that I might consider it, is like exceptional customer experiences are built by teams of people and connected software applications, all working together on a common understanding.
Where on earth?
That's a full back tattoo.
Yeah, that's it.
I think it's not possible. Maybe a t-shirt. I don't know. But it's way too long. But it's like it captures, that's the essence of it, right? Is, as Brian said on stage, like how you sell is why you win. And we want to make it possible for our customers to make it exceptional as they market, as they sell, as they service with their customers. And they can't do that if they can't bring it all together.
Do you have like, as you look for either new integration partners that you want to woo, because it's not necessarily your teams developing them anymore. Do you have like a list of like, oh, why won't this platform just build there and everybody's asking for it? Do you have anybody out there that you're dreaming of that we see on the horizon?
So we have an excellent BD team that goes and chases those folks for us, and a strategic partnerships team that helps us kind of navigate the ones that it's kind of like, are you going to build? Are you going to build? Like, how can we work best together? The answer is yes. And we think about it more like what customer problems would it be best to solve with a partnership versus like names on a list of who we want to come and integrate with us. But eventually it does turn into that, right? Like, okay, we want to go after this area. Who's the leaders in that area in the SMB to mid-market space? And like, who should we be working with? And we've developed kind of a pattern of, in some cases, we'll build to the market leader and we'll set a kind of a template of, if you're going to build this type of integration, it should work this way. We might open up new APIs or new UI extensions for how it should seamlessly work together. And then open that up and say, okay, everybody else come and build kind of a similar thing. So we think about it a lot. It's hard because you get a lot of signals. Everyone from Brian on down has the list in their head of who they really think we should have integrations with. And they knock on my door frequently and say, why haven't you built this yet? And in some cases we should. And in some cases we should send BD out to get them to build to us. And so, we refine that. We're kind of iterating on it on a daily basis, it feels like, but more formally on a quarterly basis of who do we think is going to build? Who do we think we should be building? The more you build, the more you have to maintain. And once you're reaching out to someone else's APIs, you're now at the mercy of them not changing their API and what they might do. So it has to be carefully considered as we open up that surface area. But we definitely have the wish list of things that we hear from customers that they want, problems that we're not able to solve or that we don't intend to solve internally, and then who we think is going to be great kind of go-to-market partners for us. Like, who can we work together with to solve a greater customer need that has that overlapping market?
So how are you tackling sort of a North American software bias? Because the way that we operate our lives is different than the way it happens in other parts of the world. I mean, Asia in particular, we have entire different methods of communication, of processing transactions. Even the social aspect it's a universe apart. And we're so locked into our lens here. But now HubSpot is a global company. I think 10 different countries you have headquarters in. I mean, it's amazing. How do you account for that on your product development team, where somebody comes to you and says, that's really great, but in India, that's not how we do things. What are you doing for us here? How does that conversation start, and how do your developers tackle that, and how do you prioritize that?
That's a great question. And it's something we've struggled with limited bandwidth, is how do we prioritize if the loudest voice is always going to be that North American market? And I think having open APIs is the starting point. So the more we can lean on our partner community, and that could mean app partners, it could also mean solutions partners. So we've had folks in certain markets build connectors almost like third party, right? So there's our platform, there's whatever it's connected to, and then there's the person who built it in the middle that offers some of those solutions. In the e-commerce space, for example, before we had direct integrations, there were people that solved that problem. So having the APIs open such that someone can build into those connection points and then trying to get partners to do it. I think what we're seeing is, as international has grown as a proportion of our sales, that we do have to build more in-house. So working closely with the international team to say, okay, in the geos that we as a company are focused on in 2020, what are the integrations that are causing you to get locked out? Like, what are the things that people are saying, these are table stakes, we got to have them, and how can we figure out how to build them? So we've come up with some creative resourcing moves in-house where we're building from our public APIs to theirs. How can we crank some of those things out and get them out there so we can remove some of those objections?
That's crazy.
So there is more investment going on in that area this year.
That's actually a pretty astounding thing to now think about, because there's a corporate infrastructure issue that comes along with that. That is a language issue, a cultural issue that impacts literally every aspect of the company, thinking about how you're now going to service. Like, do you ever sit back and just be like, I want to get off the ride for a second, and can I just stop?
No, it's exciting.
It's really fun.
Yeah,
that's wild.
It's really fun. One of the interesting examples, we have invested a lot into opening up our calling APIs in order for different telephony companies in different parts of the world to be able to integrate into HubSpot, because we're not going to be able to negotiate contracts with every single, phone service in every single part of the world. But there are companies in every single part of the world that have services that do it. And so by opening up HubSpot, it allows us to have that broader reach.
Now, what does that do? And what does that mean now? And maybe this is for our next trip up here. When you think about growing the number of integrations, and you think about the different rules and regulations that come from a global company like this, what does that do for that main sale development philosophy that you've put in place over the last couple of years, where there's a very deliberate way that you can introduce new technology into HubSpot's platform today, and it's going to take you longer to develop it? It's going to be more purposefully robust, and there's going to be more redundancy. So we heard that loud and clear after some outages in the past, and you were always out ahead of that kind of stuff. Does that main sale type of development threshold that you've kind of self-instituted, is that a barrier to your job in trying to open this up to more API partners? Like, how have you worked closely with your developers in IT?
Yeah. So I think the very bottom of the mainsail, the very foundation is security and compliance. I mean, the APIs are like the doors we're throwing open. So we have to be really clear on what we're going to allow to come in and go out. So a big focus in 2020 is to even up our game around API security, API access control, more granular control, like letting customers have a lot more control and visibility over what's going in and going out. And as our app marketplace grows, we need to be able to maintain that trust factor, let customers know that they can trust what's in there, that what's marked as HubSpot certified. So we're investing in more tools to do security analysis. We're looking at the compliance piece gets tricky because we're not just certifying the connection. It's like, is the app going to maintain your data in a way that's compliant with privacy regulations? And so we're looking at how best to do that in a way that recognizes the autonomy of that vendor. So they need to certify to us that they're going to comply with those regulations, and then we can pass that information along. So I would say we're kind of figuring it out a little bit, but with the goal of being able to say, if you're going to use a HubSpot certified integration, we're going to give you all the information you need to make that correct choice for your market that you're in, for the rules that apply to you in the country in which you're operating, and to the degree of risk that you're willing to take. Like, what's it going to do actually? So it's an area of deep investment. And that is one that's, when they ask what keeps you up at night, it's like, it's so complicated, but it's so important.
Fascinating.
And that we feel like it's our job to, if we're going to help our millions of organizations grow better, we need to protect them in every way that we can. And we have a lot of expertise in-house that we want to bring to bear to make that happen. So yeah, as soon as you're getting into APIs and other people's software, it starts to we can control what's in our walls. It's a lot harder. But it's our job to do it to the extent that we can.
Well, excellent. You guys are building an incredible platform, and I really think you're doing great work. So I applaud you, and thank you for joining us here on Inbound and Down. Jed, thank you as well.
Thank you.
Nancy, thank you very much. Andy, I appreciate you guys being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Inbound and Down. If you like the podcast, please rate us, review, and subscribe. If you have any questions or suggestions, email inbound@moricreative.com. Follow us on social everywhere at Mori Creative, and subscribe to our question of the day at moricreative.com/QOTD.
This is a Mori Creative Studios podcast.
Thanks for tuning in. Take a listen to this trailer for another Mori Creative Studios podcast.
Hey, it's Jed Mori, CEO and founder of Mori Creative Studios. We're a Diamond HubSpot solutions partner that helps B2B clients leverage HubSpot to achieve sustainable growth. Or, as we say, help businesses grow for good. And there you have it. Grow for good. I get it. So this is a show about how companies can grow revenue and scale their businesses. Not exactly. While this is a show about amazing companies who have grown in their industries, some even becoming a household name, it's more about how they've grown, by doing good things. We're tackling the age-old question, can you do well by doing good? See, I grew up in the 80s, during the greed is good era. Barbarians at the gate, bigger is better, mergers, acquisitions, and LBOs. Executives read Sun Tzu and quoted The Godfather in meetings. Now don't get me wrong, there's a time and a place for a well-timed Godfather quote. But today things are changing for the better. There's a realization that you don't have to destroy the competition, the little guy, and the planet just to come in first. You can be the best and do really positive things. Of course, it's not always easy, and there's a perception that giving back as part of your culture and a way of doing business has to come at a price, and that price is typically the bottom line. But companies like Ben & Jerry's, Patagonia, Bombas Socks, and thousands more have demonstrated that if anything, building in a culture of goodness and giving back can actually promote your brand and help make your investors more money. Our company lives this mantra by producing a podcast called Newsbeat. It's a social justice podcast that combines hard-hitting, quality journalism with original music and verses from independent hip-hop artists from around the world. It's an amazing and soul-filling endeavor, and it's our contribution to help make the world a better place by leveraging our skill set, and honestly, we do it because we can. We do it because we should. So we got to thinking about how can we best combine our love of podcasting with our love of marketing and the work that our organization does to help companies grow for good. Hence, Grow for Good. So thanks for checking out this introduction. I hope you love the shows and learning about these companies and how they're changing the world and doing good things. If you like what you hear, please like us, share us, and review us in your podcast app. If you have a suggestion for a company that's doing really good things in the world, be sure to let us know by emailing us at growforgood@moricreative.com. Stay tuned for more, and thanks for joining us.